Yesterday's lecture, we just talked about the introduction at the state of Indian economy on the eve of independence. And I talked about the state of Indian economy before the Britishers came to rule India. Now, today I'm going to talk about what happened during the phase they were here, what harmful things they did, what were the positives which happened, and there are a lot of factors and lot of sectors that we need to deal with this. So the first thing you find as a result of British rule in India was low level of national income and per capita income. National income is one of the most significant indicators which tells us how an economy is doing. How much of goods and services are being produced, what is the level of income, tells us about the growth and prosperity of an economy. The Britishers made no efforts as a government, as a ruling party, to find out what our national income was. So during the whole time that the Britishers were in India, there was no estimation of national income. There were some very important individual efforts that we talk about made by Dadabhai Naroji, Findlay Shirass, V.K.R.V. Rao, and R.C. Desai. These are very important names, and these were all individual efforts. They were not supported by the government. Out of these names, the most important estimate is taken by Dr. Rao, Dr. V.K.R.V. Rao. And this tells us to a degree that Indian economy was actually not growing very well because no efforts were being made for the growth of the income. No efforts were made for the productivity to increase in India. Completely, the Britishers were ruled with their own profits, their own benefits. They were not looking into the growth of India as a country. The second very important area that we will talk about today is agricultural sector. Now, agricultural sector, as I told you, India was always an agrarian economy. That means majority of the population was working in the agricultural sector. There was no effort to better the agricultural system. In fact, there were certain reasons which led to stagnation and even decrease in the agricultural productivity during the British era. The first reason for this, and a very important reason for this, is land settlement system. Now what the Britishers did was they started with the Zamindari system. The Zamindari system meant that different areas were allocated to zamindars and their main work was to collect the rent and to give it to the Britishers. Now these zamindars had no interest in improving the land. Their only thing was that they should collect that rent, keep a portion with themselves and give the rest to the Britishers. So there was too much exploitation of the farmers. There was no motivation. Whatever the poor farmers produced, they had to give it as lagaan to the zamindars. So it was a very harmful system which was there when the Britishers were there. The second was a very important reason again, commercialization of agriculture. Commercialization of agriculture means only producing crops for sale. Before this, farmers would use their land and produce goods for their own subsistence, which was called as subsistence level farming. They had something they produced and they could consume it. But the British government insisted on commercialization of crops and insisted on production of crops like indigo, which brought the productivity of the crops down. But the British government insisted on this because these were very highly priced in the international market and the Britishers wanted to earn maximum profits through selling these crops. So this did not at all lead to the productivity of the soil, to the benefit of the farmers, nothing. It just led to marketing by Britishers for their own profit gain. Third was low level of productivity. Naturally, if consistently cash crops were grown and there was nothing which went back to the fields, the productivity of the land went down. There were no fertilizers, very less importance was paid to irrigation facilities, and no effort was made made to increase the productivity of the soil. Technology was very low, there was no effort to improve the technology. So ultimately, the productivity of the land kept on decreasing. The lagaan kept on increasing. So farmers were in a very, very miserable state during the whole British era. The fourth important point over here was when the Britishers, were about to leave India, they brought about the partition. And in partition, what they did was a lot of fertile lands went to Pakistan, leaving India with the second grade lands. And that also became a major factor for India to increase its agricultural productivity at the time when it gained independence. So, this is about the industrial sector and also about national income. Please make a note for the previous Indian economy lecture also. I have given the notes in the description. I will be giving the notes for this particular topic also in the description. Make an effort, write them in your notebook so that you can consistently have the notes along with the lectures for better understanding.